So I've called most of them and I've asked all the new ones, what's your income? What have you been getting in pay for work guarantee? How have you been using this as a tool? We have pay for work guarantee, so $2,500. So that's us paying you to do services. That comes out of the franchisor's pocket. Yeah, we'll pay you. And some of them aren't using it as a tool, kind of like me when I first started. But I want them to use it and I'm going to encourage it and I'm going to hold them accountable. If they haven't done enough, then that's not on me. I'll be telling them, you need to do that.
So Mitchell Blake, welcome to the Jim's Mowing podcast. Good to have you on. So Mitchell, if you don't know now, is taking over the regional New South Wales region with some franchisees up there, which is great. And it's great to see how you transitioned from a franchisee to a franchisor after coming on the podcast. I think originally you came on as a franchisee, would have been 2.5 years ago or 2 years ago?
Yeah, we're bang on 2 years now.
Bang on 2 years. So in 2 years' time, you've gone from being a franchisee to being a franchisor, which is fantastic. So if someone's watching this for the first time and they don't know that term franchisor, what does that mean?
Yeah, so the franchisor, I guess, is your support. So if we can talk about what the role of a franchisor is, I think that might put some light on it. So we're a weekly contact and accountability coach, I guess, for our franchisees within the area. You and I just spoke offline there. We look after the marketing for the area as well. So making sure that the franchisees are busy. And then it's also, if you need someone to talk to or you need someone to solve a problem on Gyms Online, something like that, you can give us a call as well. So yeah, that's what the role is. I guess it's the ultimate service role, I guess. We're in a position where we're of service to the franchisees, and whatever that is that you need, that's what we're here for. We also run meetings a year, so we can run up to 12 meetings a year. Look, I plan to run 10 meetings a year, 3 face-to-face meetings and the rest being via Zoom. We'll bring a training component to that. We'll have a general discussion. We'll introduce new franchisees and share ideas.
Yeah, it's a good summary. And I want to outline for people as well, like people might be familiar with the term business coach, and business coaches charge sometimes $3,000-4,000, a lot more a month. And you guys are essentially a business coach plus a lot more, which I want to point out for people because a lot of the time, I think we don't promote that enough. There's external business coaches who don't give nowhere near as much support as a Jim's Mowing franchisor, and they charge $3,000-4,000 a month, and then franchisees get access to that plus a lot more for a lot less. So real quickly as well, Mitch, so just in a summary for people, so you're a franchisor now, but you're a franchisee before. So just talk a little bit about your story in a nutshell for people watching this and how you come to this position.
Yeah, so I've been in the position for a week today. So it's and I've been very, very busy for that week as well. So yeah, I've been a franchisee for 2 years now. How it came about to be a franchisor, I actually put my business up for sale about a year in. When I put it up for sale, I wasn't finding, I wasn't happy with being a mowing man. I wasn't finding it wasn't kicking goals for me. And I know that's going to sound bad, but so I looked into things like becoming a police officer, like where I could get the most value for my time, for what I was doing. And I guess that we just spoke about being of service to people. So I wanted to sell, and Dan Cahill, who was my franchisor at the time, he helped me price up the business, and I took a look at the value of the business. I actually sat down with another franchisee and said to him, look, this is how we've priced the business and this is what it's worth. What do you think? And he said to me, if you tripled your prices of all those customers, would you sell? And I said, no, like that's silly. It'd be a great business. I'd make so much money. He said, why don't you just raise the prices of some of them? So I went through and I raised about 15 prices. In raising the prices, one, it made me feel better going to the jobs, but two, the value of the business changes because the value of the business is on your clients. So I had a look at this and I went, yeah, wow, now I've got a good business. It was a simple change. And the guy that helped me there was Heath Nash out in Narromine. So I've changed the prices. I'm a little bit more happy in business. And then I'd hurt myself doing Taekwondo. I'd hurt my shoulder and I'd hurt my knee. And it became a little bit difficult to do sort of those ad hoc jobs like rubbish removal, weeding in the garden beds and doing hedges and stuff. And it saw my income dwindle down a little bit. I got a bit of rehab for it and was working through that. Dan knew that I wanted to sell, but my mind was still in the business. I had no distaste or anything towards the Jim's brand. Absolutely loved it. Enjoyed my journey with Heath Nash out in Narromine. We talk every single day. I enjoyed talking to Dan. The business model and structure was good. So he sent me Jabir from Orange, which you've had on the podcast as well, to come for a day out on the road. Jabir told me all my prices were too low once again. Every mo we went to, I was teaching him how to do things, but he'd asked me about the prices of them, and he kept telling me your prices are too low, Mitch. I raised 25 over the next 2 weeks, being angry at Jabir for coming in with no knowledge, telling me my prices were too low. And I raised all my prices, I raised prices across 25 clients. And wow, did I have a good business at the end of that. And in this period as well, Jabir had started his business. I was acting as a mentor and a coach for him as well. And that's where I was getting value out of being in the Jim's brand. And I went, I'm making great money now. I'm doing something that really matters, which was where I was struggling with getting value from being a lawn mowing contractor. So I was getting the value from helping someone start his own business, the excitement that he gave me when he called me. And one afternoon he called me. I was actually bathing my son, my 2-year-old son. We're in the bath at like 7:30 p.m. and Jabir's called me, and I picked up the phone, and he needed to have a chat. And at the end of the chat, we hung up. It was just a 10-minute phone call. He put the phone down and he texted me and he said, like, I really appreciate what you've done for me, just from a 10-minute chat. And he said, I feel like you're my franchisor. And I went, oh, like this feels good. Is that what the role is? I had been working as well with James from Jim's Life Coaching throughout this process as well. I signed up for a 3-month course with him, and we sat down and we worked through things like our values, our core beliefs. It really stemmed around like camaraderie, helping others, and always striving to be a little bit better. I hope I'm building a little picture here and bringing it in to the point of catalyst. After all of this had happened, I decided to give Dan a call and say, look, mate, I'm not selling my business. I can't go. I really love this. I've appointed myself as a mentor for the region, self-appointment. Is there something available to me where I can be acknowledged for this and be in a position where I can help people? And Dad said, mate, this is music to my ears. This is great. We're going to love to have you around. Would you like to buy a split of my region? Really? Are you sure? He said, I couldn't think of anyone better to do the job. So I hung up from that phone call and I gave Jim a call. And it's the first phone call I've given Jim. The hands are shaking as I'm dialing and it's ringing. Oh no, I'm calling the CEO. And he's just such a nice man. Very comforting, very well spoken, just so easy to talk to and very supportive. And he said, look, Mitch, from what I can see, you're 5-star rated. You've been helping out in the area. You'd be a great candidate. I think he said the next thing you should do is give Matt Watts a call, who's in the divisional role. So I gave Matt a call. He said, great. You seem like someone who wants to help people. That's what the role is. Come down for franchisor training. So we took a week off in, it must have been February, I think, and we came down for the franchisor training. When I say we, that's me and my wife. We did the training and it was sensational. The word that I could give to the people that presented, which is yourself, Joel, Matt Watts presented, Jim presented, just elite individuals. It was really great to be in the presence of the people that we had down there. From there, it took a few months, but we've gotten it across the line now in the new year, the new financial year. And yeah, that's sort of my journey of how it came about to be
I think the key words you said then, and I like what Matt said as well, and that's right. The franchisor role is people who want to help people, and that's the thing. You generally want to help people, and that's what you wanted to do, and it's a role where you can do that, and you help a lot of people, change their lives as a franchisor. Really, you got guys who come in, employees maybe don't have the self confidence to run a business. The next thing you know, in a couple of years, they're running a successful business. They might have been able to buy a house or this and that, which they wouldn't have been able to do before. And I think that the franchisors, they cop a bit of grief sometimes from head offices, as franchisors listening might laugh and stuff and know, and they don't get enough credit sometimes. But I know what the franchisors do, and franchisors help thousands of franchisees every year improve their life, and that's what the role is. And now you can do that as well. So let's talk about your region in particular. So you're in regional New South Wales. Currently, how many franchisees are in your region?
We got 22 region, plus myself. So I'm still franchisee.
Yeah.
We got 23 in the region. I've been in the position for a week and the phone is just blowing up with people wanting to join gyms.
Feel it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's good. How many people, how much do you reckon your region can hold? Like how much room do you have for growth?
I've got it's 60 at least. At least 60. I've got some real hot spots actually. I've got a list here.
Yeah. Let's go through them.
Yeah, I don't want to plug myself or the area. So I'm looking after Central West, the Southern Highlands, and the South Coast. And some areas, like I've got some areas written down here of of great need. Like I really want to put someone in there. So Parks, Forbes, Mudgee. So they're all out in the Central West. At the top of the South Coast there, Gerringong, Sanctuary Point, Vincentia, Ulladulla. Further down, Moruya, Turos Heads, Merimbula.
Now, is that because there's unserviced there, or what's the reason?
I know the area. So I've grown up. I grew up in Goulburn.
Right.
I live out in Dubbo, for those that don't know. And I used to holiday down the South Coast constantly. I was just in Ulladulla on Christmas. So this is prior to wanting, or prior to any knowledge of coming on as a franchisor. I was it was Boxing Day down in Ulladulla, and I'm texting Dan saying, mate, what a great area. Why isn't there a franchisee here? And we started looking, Dan and I started looking at what leads were there. I think it was something like 66 leads in a year. And that's with no advertising in the area at all.
Yeah.
And we have a U-Butte franchisee actually down in Bateman's Bay. His name's Michael Cubid. An absolute ball of energy. Got a cracker of a business. He's been with us for 18 months. He's taking leads up in Ulladulla, so he's travelling up there. So he's picking those up. So they're not necessarily showing up as unserviced, but you can see that the demand's there. At the moment, it's not statistically. I haven't looked at the statistics. Again, I've only been in the role for 1 week, but I have a general feel for the area. And Ulladulla is probably the hot spot where we really need someone. And actually, Ulladulla Mowers is run by, I think it's Scotty Osborne, and he's a former Jim's franchisee.
I recognise the name, actually. So there you go. Another franchisee buying a mower shop. There's a couple I know of now. There you go. I recognise the name, Scott, actually. So there you go. That's nice. That's nice to know. I was going to say as well then, Mitch, you got a lot of interest, which is great. So when people are interested in it, like, is it key for you just to get them on the observation day? Or what do you sort of suggest to them to sort of do in their fact-finding mission? Because they're not only just looking at us, they'll be looking at other options. So
they need to do their homework, which is what I did and what the good franchisees do. Probably talk about Deshant, who's just come on. So he started on Monday. He's a prime example. He's a gold star. He started on Monday. He's come on under Dan, who previously owned the region, but he's now under myself. But he came out for a day on the road with me. So an initial phone call. He had an initial phone call with Dan. Dan's passed him on to me as that self-appointed mentor role that I gave myself. I had some doubts on the phone when speaking to him. Business is hard. You need to understand that you're purchasing a business and it's not purchasing a job. It can feel like that sometimes coming on as a sole contractor that you're purchasing a job, but you need to change your mindset just a little bit. And this was one of the things that I wasn't sure about. And so we did a day on the road the following day. So super eager. So Deshant's come on the day on the road with me. We've called Heath out in Narromine and said, mate, I've had this guy on the road with me and he's an absolute weapon. I might be a little bit biased trying to bring someone on because I want more people in the region. It's better for the franchisor if that's the case. So I said, do you want to take him out on the road and give me your feedback on him? Deshant's gone out with Heath out in Narromine. They had a great day. Heath couldn't speak any more highly of him. Down to training goes Deshant. You might remember him. So Deshant was the shearer with the good beard from Jim.
Oh, yeah.
Hashtag Ask Jims.
Yeah, I do remember him now. Yeah.
So he's gotten up and spoken at the Q&A with Jim and yourself. So again, he's putting himself out there. And it was actually his wife, Scylla, who texted him and said, you better get up. She was watching on the live and said, you better get up there and ask a question. So another thing, I'd met his partner, Scylla, and very supportive as well. So I think that's important that you've got your partner's backing to go into something like this as well. So Deshant returns from training. He contacts me and says, do we all catch up at the pub and have a beer? Like, what's the networking like? I went, oh, okay, mate, I'll text everyone. So text all the guys in Dubbo and Heath out in Narromine and said, righto, we're going to have a pub night. We'll do it on Tuesday. So Deshant's organised his pub night. So we all go there, had beers. Well, we probably had 2 or 3. Deshant gets to introduce himself to everyone and network within the group. He's having a cracker of a start. I'll just touch on some of my pillars for a franchisee at this point. So I've got them written down here. I think there's 4 really, really important things that you must do when you come on as a franchisee or if you're starting independently or in your own business. I got 4 words. They're very catchphrasy, but there's a meaning behind them. So relationships, networking, expectations, and communication. They're the only 4 things that you need to master to be good at being a franchisee. The workmanship and all that, that'll come. The bookkeeping, we can get that sorted. So Deshant's now starting on Monday. His lawnmower hasn't turned up. He's HRU 216. He needs a mower. We reach out to the group. I call Heath and say, Heath, I know that you've just moved on to the battery platform. You know Deshant. He's invested in Deshant. I don't know what this is, but when you do a day on the road with someone like me with Jabir, you become invested in their journey. And he said, no worries, send him out. He can pick up my spare HRU 216 and use that until his mower gets here. This is just a great example of that benefit of getting that is because he went and had a beer with him. He went on the day on the road with him. So when I'm talking to a new franchisee, which was your original question, what are the things that they should be doing? I'll send them an information pack. It'll have all the legal jargony stuff in there, but I've also got attached your interviews. So I've got 3 interviews there attached, and I asked them, watch as many as possible. I've just highlighted a few for you, but you need to do your own research and really get involved and gymify yourself to some point. Once I'm comfortable that you've actually read the information pack and watched some of the YouTubes and now we're sort of on the same page, let's put your bum in the seat of another franchisee's car and go out with them, do an observation day. And from there, then we can, you could come and meet me. I'll come and meet you. Let's have a chat about how you want to structure things, all of that. We'll get you down to training, sit through the training, and then let's get things moving.
That's good advice. And that's generally, from what I hear from the franchisees who do well, that's the best people. They qualify themselves with the content, and that we hope that they watch it and go, gee, running a business might sound a bit too hard. Not for me, then great. But they might watch it and then qualify themselves and go, I can do that. Absolutely, then come in. I was going to say as well then, Mitch, so common questions that you'd be getting. So you're fielding a lot of stuff now from franchising prospects. I can imagine what the couple of them are. How much will I make? How much does it cost? Now, do you take 50% of my jobs? Yeah, so can you just clarify a few of these questions first, just for people who are watching this?
Yeah, so would have been great if we had this after 1 p.m. because I'm speaking to someone at 1 p.m. about this. But I was speaking to Joseph from down in Canowindra. He's looking at coming on. He's in such a great spot too with where he is. He's got surrounding cities that are full of work. So that's good for him. But what he wanted to know, how much is it going to cost me? The cost is going to vary. We've got it advertised for $30,000. What equipment you want to start with is going to change that, okay? So $30,000, that's including a trailer, a mower, blower, whip snipper, and a hedger. Really basic stuff though. But in Joseph's case, he's got Greenworks. He's got a heap of Greenworks stuff. And I said to Joseph, we spoke for maybe an hour and a half on the phone yesterday. One of the franchisees up here, long-term one, Steve Miller, he's been going for 15 years now. He was actually one of the first people I approached when I thought about coming on as a franchisor and said, what do you think about it, mate? He said to me, the one thing that I want from the meetings is I want Ego to come out and we're going to test and try Ego equipment. So I've ticked that box. I've spoken to Ego. They're going to come out for one of our face-to-face meetings. So when I was speaking to Joseph, I could tell him this story, that this is some of the things that we do when we're talking about equipment, the pricing of it. I said, if you want to talk to Greenworks, mate, I'm sure I can get Greenworks to come out and see you. I'll do my very, very best to get them either to a meeting or out to you, and we'll get things priced up, even before you start. And that's what equipment we can give you. So, yeah, I don't want to have a price objection. When we spoke about what it costs to get in there, it was more about what do you want from it. So $30,000, that's the starting price. But, if you've already got some Greenworks stuff, then we're not going to have to buy that. Like he's got a ride-on, he's got a blower, he's got a whipper snipper. So your price is going to be a little bit lower. So it's going to vary, and it varies between franchisors as well.
Not much, Jim's, but that's the range, what you said. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a range there. And then they say, yeah, how much are you going to earn? Well, how much do you want to work? How much do you want to work? Are you going to work 4 days a week? Are you going to be Michael Cupid down at Bateman's Bay and work 7 days a week? Are you going to be me who breezes through on 3.5, 4 days a week? Who do you want to be? What's your pricing going to be? When you first start out, your pricing's going to be a little bit low. You're desperate, you're hungry for work, you're going to price accordingly. And then as you build your business, which back to our conversation with how I raise my prices at 2 different points in time, you'll build your business over time and make more money. Now let's put a dollar on it, okay? We have pay for work guarantee, so $2,500. If you're not making $2,500, then you're not hungry enough. So that's us paying you to do services. That comes out of the franchisor's pocket, out of the profit. So, yeah, we'll pay you. I've been speaking, so obviously I've been in it for a week now, and I've called not every single franchisee. I've got them on a schedule. So I've called most of them last week, and I've asked all the new ones, what's your income and what have you been getting in pay for work guarantee? How have you been using this as a tool? And some of them aren't using it as a tool, kind of like me when I first started, but I want them to use it and I'm going to encourage it. And then I'm going to call them next week and I'm going to hold them accountable. They'll send me their pay for work guarantee form on a Sunday and it'll list out the jobs that they've done. It'll list out the pay for work jobs that they've done. And if they haven't done enough, then that's not on me. But I'll be telling them you need to do that.
That's all
I'm more than happy to pay the pay for work guarantee up to 2.5. That's a little bit on pay for work guarantee, but your expectations, as a solo operator, you can make between 2,500 a week to 7,000. I speak to people that are doing it. That's revenue, and you can expect your profit margin to be, depending on how you run your business, between 50 to 70%. So if you're taking 70% of 6,000, what's that, Joel? You're better at math than me?
I'm not better at math than me, but you're doing it pretty well.
You're
doing it pretty well. And everything you do is a business expense. The reason why I asked that is because, as you can imagine, we don't say how much you're going to make exactly because that's, can get you in trouble with stuff as well. So we say generally revenue. Then people can work out how much the person's making. So a lot of time we do this content online, we'll go, all right, this guy's turning over 500 grand, and then you get all the negative naysayers going, well, take into account this, and this, and this, and this. He's probably making less than 50 grand a year. And it's like, all right, if you want to think that, that's fine. So hearing that from yourself is great from someone who's been doing it, and obviously from franchisees. And have a business which is doing, let's say, 2.5 to 7 grand revenue as a sole trader per week. People can work out what are the costs, the cost of fuel. You've got your tax obviously there. You've got your, there's maybe some equipment costs and things like that, some insurance, which is not overly much. What else is there from a cost perspective besides that?
There's not much. Because honestly, in a mowing business, it's not much. I could spruik our fee charges for this region.
Talk about it. Go for it.
They will vary. They will vary across regions. So we've adopted the same model that was previous for the region that Dan Cahill had. So we're going to do $800 a month is your fixed fee. That's not going to budge. And then it's $10 per lead fee.
Cheap.
It's really cheap. And actually, so I did speak to Joseph Canandra about this, about the lead structure yesterday as well. And I explained the $10 lead fee, and I'm so guilty of why that's in place. So if I get a $10 lead fee from gyms, I call it within 2 minutes. Okay. So I would probably say an average of 2 minutes with a gym's lead fee that comes in. If someone messages me on Facebook or just gives me a call from a magnet that I've dropped or something, Joel, I'm guilty of not getting straight back to that person. So that's exactly why that's there.
I'm glad you openly admit that, because that's one of the main things I get online as a comment all the time is people don't understand the lead fee. They think you've got to pay for the job regardless of win it or not, and they think it's a horrible system. You've literally just outlined why it was brought in.
It works. And I'm someone who I self-reflect and hold myself very accountable. I get cranky at myself, to be honest about that, but it's 100%. It works. It really it works for me. And I imagine that I'm no different to anyone else out there. So I 100% agree with that. So we spoke about that yesterday. So fresh with a prospect, as we call them.
The lead fees can be like, I've had a guy the other day who got from one lead, he got $100,000 job. You know what I mean? So he's paying $10 for the lead, and the job was worth $100,000. I've had other franchisees say, $10 lead, and they get a body corporate client who has got 6 factories or something, and there's, $40,000 a year recurring revenue from a $10 lead. So, and people need to understand that the lead fee, as you just said, then I'll repeat it for people, because we keep them repeat this point online. They just do not get it. They think you should just get free jobs from gyms and people are going to do the right thing and call the customer ASAP. And as Jim knows from when he did it back in the day when we didn't have a lead fee, that was not the case. Brings the lead fee, complaints drop dramatically, customer service improve, leads go up. So it works, and it's there for a reason.
Yeah, that's right. 100%. Another little side note there on things that you guys talk about a lot and try and embed in us is the trailers on the road. So when I first started in Dubbo, we had a couple of franchisees that weren't that flash. We've got a couple still with us that are really good. The ones that weren't that flash have moved on. We didn't have many leads. I won't give you a figure of the leads, but let's say whatever leads that we had, we fast forwarded 1 year with more franchisees in the area and probably better franchisees in the area. And we'd more than triple the leads that were coming in for the area.
which is very counterintuitive, isn't it? People think more trailers, it's saturated. I'm not going to have enough work. And that's some of the comments we see. People go, I see gyms mowing everywhere. Surely there's not enough work.
When I first moved to Dubbo, must have been 2.5 years ago, I saw Jim's trailers. So that's where I was working in the mines, 12 days on, 2 days off. I'd never employed anyone to mow my lawn. We had a 1-year-old baby at home, so I wanted to spend some family time with them on those 2 days that I had. And we desperately needed to mow the lawn here. I did an online little inquiry to Jim's group. It went unserviced. So it said there's no gym servicing your area or something. I'm like,
yep.
No way. There was a trailer in my street a couple of days ago. So that speaks to the fact that we didn't have enough gyms in the area to fulfill the leads coming in. But the other thing there is that someone who had never used a lawn mowing contractor before and didn't know how to contact one, I got it from the trailers on the road. So when I was speaking yesterday to Joseph, it was such an easy conversation to have because I'd just gotten off the phone with the guys in Orange and Bathurst. Both of them said to me, I don't know, they're both new, they're gymified. They've said to me, can you put more franchisees in Bathurst and Orange? It took me by surprise. I went, are you kidding me? One of them's just started. So he's only been going a couple of months and he said, I want more trailers on the road. And the other one's been going since January. He said, no, more trailers on the road, please, Mitch. That's incredible that a franchisee would approach me. Funnily enough, after I first started, if you go back and listen to my story, I whinged about how many leads I was getting and I wanted to be busier and blah, blah, blah. Probably 3 weeks after I had that interview, I called Dan up begging him to turn my leads off. So it was only 8 weeks or something into business. I had 15 mows in a day. I had 10 leads. I came home and just collapsed and called Dan and said, mate, I can't do this. You've got to turn these leads off. I think in that original interview, I'd spoken about it. There was a real clicking turning point in the business. And I think it can take that 6 to 7 weeks to grow a business. Yeah, refreshing to hear guys say and believe what they're saying, please, Mitch, put more trailers on the road. So when I spoke to Joseph down in Canowindra, it was like, well, Joseph, mate, I just spoke to these guys and they want you because he was worried about, am I encroaching on their area? What's the competition like?
Yeah.
There is no competition.
Yeah.
You're going to do the same thing as Deshant. You're going to have a beer at the pub. And he was surprised when I said, look, Jabir's already told me that he's happy for you to go out in a day on the road with him. He's in Orange. And Joseph, the prospect, has Jabir's magnet on his fridge. I don't know where he got it from. He doesn't know where he got it from, but Jim Mowing is on his fridge.
But I think you make a good point. It's very counterintuitive to people, but with gyms, it's very unique that it's not something with competitiveness or nothing like that. People know how much work there is and they want us to do the work because it keeps the customer in the gym's ecosystem. And I think people underestimate how camaraderie, how encouraging other franchisees in the area will be. And they're always, Joseph's reaction is generally typical for most franchises, you come in, that's a typical mentality. But outside of gyms, outside gyms it is, but in gyms it's different. And I will say this to people as well. You're right about the brand in the trailers. It is such an iconic brand. The green and the yellow driving around, it catches the eye. People generally have a good association with the Jim's Mowing brand. It's been going for nearly 40 years now as well. It is an Australian icon. You see all the memes online with Bunnings. You got Dan Murphy's. You got Jim's Mowing always in there, and you can't, and you get a share of that brand equity and that brand trust for a really small amount. It's one of the best ROI franchises as well in terms of how much you'll make back in your first year. You pay off your franchise pretty much in the first year. You can't do that with anyone else. And I will say to anyone as well, even though we're biased working for gyms, we generate leads as Jim's Mowing. And I think that's important, Mitch, what you got to point out for people. We generate leads as Jim's Mowing. We do not send you to high pages. We do not buy leads from service seeking. We do not buy leads from third-party sites, which a lot of other businesses that I know personally do. And then they come into gyms and go, I should have went with Jim's Mowing from the start. And I've got multiple podcasts with people saying that. I'm not disparaging other franchise brands. That might be fine for you. But being able to generate a lead as your own brand name, because they want Jim's Mowing, because customers do want Jim's Mowing, means a better customer and a better experience for you as a franchisee, rather than having to go and get a service-seeking lead or compete with 5 people on high pages, which other home service brands, quite frankly, do. And I think it's really important for people to know. Cheap is not always better when it comes to home services franchise, and you get what you pay for. And I've got heaps of interviews recently with franchisees who've tried independent, then they tried another cheaper franchise, and they're looking at gyms the whole time. Then they come to gyms and they basically I wasted all this time and money. I should have went from gyms from the start. So I just had to throw that out there just for people watching this from my perspective, from being here for 14 years.
So just on that, I obviously listen to all of your content that gets put out.
You have too much time on your hands, Mitch, if you're doing that.
Well, yeah. Actually, this week I've missed all the lawn mowing podcasts and stuff because I've been too busy. No, I'm feeling a little bit left out. But no, I actually spoke to BJ Wallace on the phone today, actually, who's from the Into the Green podcast. So BJ's coming on to my very first Zoom meeting.
Cool.
So he's going to come on and do a chat about the Lawn Land Equip Expo, which is going to be down in Melbourne. Look, I've got a date here for you just to plug in. On August 23rd. So he's going to come on and do a little bit of chat about that. And obviously being what I would say is probably the second most recognisable face in lawn mowing contracting after Jim. And he's got a lot of ground to catch Jim, but he's very recognisable. He's going to come on and he's going to tell people about the expo, but he's also going to take questions and answers from our franchisees who follow him and are very supportive. So that's another.
Get him on the podcast if you want. Get him on the Jim's Mowing one. I'm happy to interview him.
Okay, so I spoke to him today and I said I was going to talk to you. So if you want to get him on, at the end of this, I'll give you his details and we'll get that moving.
Let's keep going with some other questions as well. So the that territory, are you restricted to territory as a franchisee or can you take work from anywhere? Because I think that's another misconception about they think that's all you can work in.
I'm very proactive with my all areas, which is what it's called.
Yeah.
So you'll purchase a territory, and to be honest, it doesn't even matter what it is. My territory's in the middle of nowhere. It doesn't matter. Look, we'll give you the best territory that we can possibly give you, of course, within reason. But it doesn't. It's not everything. So what you'll do is expand your all areas, and then you'll contract it at some point.
Yeah.
So what we'll do, we'll expand it out as far as you're willing to travel. And you can take leads in that. And as far as you want to expand your area out, and I'm only just learning about this now, I will advertise where you want to expand your area to. So if you want to expand 50 kilometers north of where you're basing your business and you want to take leads in that, then we'll advertise there for you. So that's something we're going to do. So you can make that area as big as you want, and it's called a geospace. So actually, over this last week, every franchisee that I've spoken to, I've pulled up. Now, I was very proactive, okay? So I'd done mine with Dan, but every franchisee I spoke to this week, I pulled up their all areas while I was on the phone with them, took a photo of it, sent it to them, and anyone who wasn't getting work, I said, where can we expand you to? How can we incorporate more area into where you're taking leads from? Because some guys were too small for me in winter. So we'll expand your area, you'll take leads in this, and then come September, November, October, we'll shrink you in. Unless you want to keep growing, then we'll leave you out where you are. But as your business grows, it's really funny. My service area is maybe 10 kilometers from my house, maximum. I really, really bought that area in. And what you can do as well is not to get too deep into it, but we can give you your area where you want. Then we can create a zone for you, say in a commercial area or or an acreage area. So we can help you really target the clients that you want. But obviously when you first start, we're going to go, how much do you want? And then we'll work out what you want for your business. If you're going to be bringing on employees. So I just actually shrunk one area. Everyone I expanded, bar one guy. We shrunk his area down. I said, you need to employ, mate. Like, I don't want you shrinking. Why are you shrinking? We've spoken about this before I was a franchisor that you were going to employ. Let's increase the area, get some staff on, and then, we'll work from there. So, yeah, you can take leads as big an area as you want.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, all areas when you start, and then as you said, as you get, you want to reduce travel time if you want, match as you can, and then you can increase your profitability that way and do more jobs and sell off clients as well from those out areas when you first start and doing splits and all these sorts of things. So I think the flexibility of Gyms Online. So if people don't know, and you've probably not seen this, but we have a system called Gyms Online, where as a franchisee you can log in and update your work areas. I don't want to do this job. I want to work here. All that sort of stuff. I don't want to work on this day. I don't want to take leads from this time. All that sort of stuff you can customize on your system as well. And we obviously have the app too as well. Now, Mitch, what would you sort of say as well? What's the expectation from you then on a new franchisee? So you mentioned pay for work guarantee, which is something that they need to do if they require it. But we want people to be proactive in their business. So when a franchisee comes on in their first week or two, you mentioned the other gentleman before, how he's been proactive with trying to network with franchisees, which is great. What should they know as an expectation that is required of them when they start with you that you want them to do in the first week?
Yeah, so not a great example with Deshaun. I made him busy. I actually gave him, must be about 8 or 9 residential mows that were my clients, and I gave him a really big one that's worth about $80,000 a year as well. So
What? Really?
he's yeah. So
Very nice. Very nice, franchisor.
I had to create a presentation on it. I don't want to throw him under the bus, so I had to create a plant presentation because it's an aged care facility and has a lot of.
But that's amazing what you've just done for him. You've given him $80,000 worth of work, plus
it'll be 80,000 in that one client, plus about I know a him
materials to help him on the job. You know, so it's amazing.
Yeah, so he's pretty lucky in that. But again, he networked. So that's what when you're saying what my expectations are that you network. And I did this prior to becoming franchisor. I called every new guy when they started. I would call every new guy and I would implore them to call me. And some did, some didn't. And I would tell them, these are the guys in your area. Here's their numbers. Call them. I can still call some of those new guys and they haven't yet networked with the guys in their area. If you're not networking with the guys in the area, you're not going to get that HRU 216 on lend from the other franchisee. You're not going to get the $80,000 contract. When I first started, it wasn't an $80,000 contract. It was a $180 hedge mow that Steve Miller gave me. And I appreciated that. That was in my first week. By picking up the phone and calling another franchisee, I'd gotten $180. That's absolute cream on the business. You're not paying a lead fee for that.
Yeah, it's direct referral. Yeah.
Yeah, on the big one with Deshaun, we did a walkthrough with the property manager, and she knows he's new, and we're going to do a handover, and I'll help him with it. There's a presentation on the whole place, so I'm not throwing him under the bus. He's going to get you can't take on something that big when you first start. It's or you can, but you're going to need support to take on something like that. So for me, an expectation is in that first week you're going to network. So you're going to call all of the gym's cleaners in your area, all of the gym's dog wash guys, all of the gym's mowing. You're going to call the gym's bookkeeper. You're probably going to call other franchisors as well. We had one here the other day. He called me at Mark Jones. So he called me about cleaning solar panels. So he was doing a gutter cleaning job and noticed the solar panels were dirty. And he contacted me and said, "Oh, look, mate, I don't really know too much about cleaning solar panels. There's a sort of a fixed rate," and we tried to work through the process of quoting that. And then he said, "Oh, hang on, someone presented about that down at the training." And we had a little think about who it was, and it sounded like the description was John Wilds. So I just said, "Here's John Wilds' number, give him a call and ask him how to do solar panels and what the price." Yeah, so you can call other franchisors. And they might get angry at me saying, "No, I don't know." But but
all right, you're very nice.
But yeah, there's a whole breadth of people that you can call. It was one of the other thing. I know I keep going off on little sidebars here, but when I was thinking about selling the business, one of the things that my wife said to me was, you've got like this contact list of millionaires and successful business owners. Call them. Like you've got this list, this huge list of people. Everyone's got access to everyone else's number in the gym's group. Jim Penman's up on the board. You know, we got his number. We have that network of people that we can talk to. And everyone's too happy. When I thought about becoming franchisor, I called John Wilds, and it was the first phone call I'd ever made to him. And he yelled at me because he's so energetic. He's so passionate about what he does. He yelled at me for an hour about being franchisor, and I was exhausted afterwards. And I took notes and I had to unpack it over the next day, everything he said to me. And it was great. Like, it was really, really great. So you're a new franchisee coming on, networking, very, very important in our business. And look, I've got other things here. So I've written relationships. Relationships are important as well. The relationships with the mowing shop. My mowing shop has dropped everything and came and visited me out on a job to fix my stand-on mower that I've got and not charge. Why? Why would they do that? Because you spend the time to talk to them, you treat them right. If anyone here has worked in retail, I used to be a retail manager for Target. The way that people in retail get treated is shocking. So if you're willing to smile, talk to them, ask them how their day is, how's your model cars going, Chris, all of this type of stuff. And that's a real life example of a conversation to have with someone. I've taken them in beers. I took beers in and spoke to the owner of the shop. It's a big shop. I took beers in, a couple of cases of beer, and said, look, you helped me build my business. We built this business together. Whatever it is that I've got, we built it together. I really appreciate it. These beers are for your workers, and you need to know that this guy, they're very important to your business. So that's a relationship. Another one is I don't think I've ever been charged full price for green waste.
It's good. That's a good saving that one.
Because I take the time to ask the lady on the gate,
Yeah.
How's her day? Sometimes I take my son out in the back seat of the car. He pipes up and she loves him. She knows his name. She gives him colouring in every time he goes there. We have a great relationship. I don't think he ever charged me full price. Everything's relationships in business. So I know we're talking about the first week, but I'm telling you, this is more mindset stuff. And then I've also got, look, those things, expectations, communication, that's fine. We can work on that later. That's not what you can do in your first week. In your first week, look, I dropped, 2,000 magnets or something?
Yep, I remember you saying that.
I tried myself. So I've dropped about 5 now, I think, or 5,000, at least flyers and magnets. I timed myself. When I knew I was coming on a Franchisor, I timed myself. And I could get 500 magnet drops done in half a day very easily. When you start as a franchisee, you have so much time. Time is your friend. If you don't fill it, it's going to be very lonely and isolating. So we can fill it with dropping those 500 magnets. You'll get leads from that. I want you to go in and talk to the real estate agents. So we're going to print out our public. I actually did this for Deshaun. I printed out his public liability for him because he didn't have a printer at home. Come around the house, pick those up. I want you to go into the real estate agents. And how we approach a real estate agent is we don't go in and ask. We go in and tell, which is important. So we go in and we say, I'm here to fill out the contractor's form. The receptionist at the counter doesn't know, she's just a receptionist. She's going to hand you that contractor's form. You're going to staple your public liability statement to the back of it and fill out that form and hand it straight to them. The moment that she puts that into a file, you're then going to say, is there any property managers available to talk to? And you're in. Deshaun's with elders here, and you're in. That exact same method. So I think you need to do that. So we're going to network in our first week. We're going to do some local area marketing, dropping ads. We're going to go into our real estate agents and talk to them. We're going to contact our aged care facilities, our NDIS providers. We're going to call Jim.
Sorry, Mitch, to cut you off. I just want to give specific information. This is good. I want to put it on the internet for our training. So you mentioned about the property management. So and the NDIS and the aged care people, how should those conversations go? And as you said, should I be taking in a liability thing with them, or what else should they take into those people? Or what's sort of your advice around that?
Yeah, so you're going to be in uniform for one. So you're going into uniform to the real estate agent. You're going to hand your public liability. You're going to fill out the contractor's form. You're going to give it to them. You're going to wait until they put it in the file, okay? Once they've put it in the filing cabinet or once they've filed that away, you're on the top of the pile. You're then going to ask for the property manager. When the property manager comes out, the one thing that the property manager wants is someone who can mow today. If they call me, I'm busy. Man, I can't fill that. I can't accommodate you. You're a new franchisee. You need to let them know that you can accommodate them. Hey, I'm starting up a new business. You can say you're starting up a new business. They don't care. I'm starting up a new business and I'm looking for work. I have availability, which is that's the most important thing to them. And the next thing is pricing. And you can say, I'm pricing accordingly. Let them know that you're pricing accordingly to the fact that you're new and that you have an open roster. You haven't told them that you're cheap and you're not going to be cheap. But you've let them, that the expectations that you've given them is that this guy is going to give me a good, reasonable price and he's available. The moment they need someone, you're that person.
Yeah.
That's the way that I would approach that. Now, NDIS and aged care. So I won't say where you're going to get all those contacts from because we're going to keep that amongst gyms. But so you're going to contact aged care facilities. You're going to contact NDIS providers. And a really, really big one, and I don't know what's happened, but I believe there must be some sort of expansion with it, is Jim's national contracts. So Jim's national contracts is absolute gold. I wouldn't have built a business as good as what I built if I didn't have Jim's national contracts. There's no lead fee attached to it. Jim's national contracts separate to the head office. I'm not entirely sure how they're set up or who they're set up for, but Jim's national contracts has been putting work in front of our guys. Aged care, NDIS, really big contracts. And
that's great to hear. So I'll give them a plug because Jim's Contracts is run by the cleaning group. They've got their own separate contracts department. So it's got a really good team and they pay franchisees quick as well, which I think is the benefit to it too. Like, they're paying quick, but they've been getting a lot of momentum and really building year on year. Because what we're finding is a lot of people, because we're one of the only brands that can really truly do everything. So what they're finding is that we can truly do everything. And it's great to hear how they're helping you guys out with your contracts. So that's really good feedback.
I'll just shout out one person that's at Jim's National Contracts, and that's Samantha. I've never met Samantha, but every time I answer the phone to Samantha, it lights my day up. It absolutely lights my day up. Not because she's giving me work, but she's just such a personality.
Good.
Yeah, she's amazing. I don't know who she is or where she is or if she'll listen to this, but yeah.
I'm going to clip it up and send it to contracts. So that's what I was.
Yeah, she's a gem. She's a gem. Yeah.
So that's great to hear. So NDIS, aged care, obviously the Jim's contracts as well, letting them know being down to do that work is probably important as well, getting in touch with them. And you mentioned some good stuff there. Aged care and NDIS, though, like once you get that list of people, is it just a phone call or do you go in somewhere to see them, or what advice around that?
You can go in and see. You can go in and see them. It's very hard to get on the books with aged care.
Yep.
They'll tell you that they have contractors already on the books. We're full. We don't need you. You're going to call them. Okay. So you're going to be the first person to fill that spot when, say, again, it's back to how busy you are. So they're going to be very similar to the property managers at the real estate agents. So the moment that someone can't fulfill what they're, or even slip up and don't do the job right, you're going to be the person that's in front of their mind. So that's calling them weekly. That's emailing them weekly. Adam,
is there any bribery you can do? So any gifts or something you can drop in to get a bit of a headway?
Oh, you could take them donuts or coffees, absolutely. Yeah. But Adam McDonald's doing this down in Goulburn. They've told him that they're full up at the aged care and they can't take him on. And he used to work for one of the aged care facilities as well.
Right.
And so he did have a meeting with them and he had coffee with them as well. So that's a really good example of someone who's networking, using his network and speaking to the aged care as well. But you need to be in their face. So you need to be at the front of their mind and ready to fill that void when it comes. And it will come. It'll likely come. So obviously we're in July now, mid-July. Contractors are going to be very busy and a dime a dozen in September. And if you're in the front of the mind of these real estate agents, you could do the same thing. Take the coffee into the real estate agents, take in your donuts, do whatever you want to do. As long as you're in the front of their mind, you'll get in.
But it's also reciprocity. Like if you're giving someone something, there's that people feel compelled to give you something back. And that's the thing. It's a basic psychology sort of thing, but that's what happens all the time. And, I get badgered with sales things all the time. And if someone does give me a gift or something like that, I'm a little bit more inclined to take their call or listen to them as opposed to just give me 30 minutes of your time for no reason, etc. So we've had people at National Office, they're really smart sometimes. They might send us like a really targeted sort of, might be a book or something like that to remember them and a QR code to watch a video to then call them. And then you give that person a little bit more time because you feel guilty if you don't. So I think, always taking something in there can be a bit nice and put you at the front of the queue.
Ooh, expect something in the mail then, Joel.
Franchisees and franchisors don't need to do that to me. I'm just saying that's from me, in my position, I get all the time. I get bloody, things like that. And I'm probably in a position as an aged care person where they're getting bombarded all the time from contractors. So who do you give the time of day to? And reputable brand is another one. If you see a big brand approaching you, you sort of take them a bit more seriously for one. But they keep following you up. They keep following you up. And eventually you give in.
Just to be able to touch on that, the brand recognition. So you're in the face of these people all the time. You're sending in emails. You can send them just information on an email. Like, hey, it's this time of year. We're going to look at coring lawns, or we're going to be putting pre-emergence, or this time of year's fertilizer. That's a really good one. Just pump them with information and it'll just put you on their desk. You don't necessarily need to be messaging them every week and saying, hey, do you have any work for me? Hey, do you have any work? Like, how drab is that?
What I would do is, if you're going to do, you're right. If you do emails as well, make sure the subject line's critical. That's the thing, they get your email clicked. So make sure you do a good subject line, and you can use AI to do with that as well and make it nice and short. Don't put a big essay in there and maybe an image or two or something like that, or a personalized video, which I think really cuts through now, Mitch. I don't see it done enough, but I know a little bit. I see sometimes if people put personalized videos in messages or emails specifically, it speaks to them as a personalized thing. That's probably a massive little point of difference which people can do over someone else.
Yep. And so we were talking about the brand. You mentioned brand recognition there.
Yeah.
So at the start of winter, I'm looking for work, right? So I've cold called places. Now, cold calling, you're probably not going to get a huge success rate from cold calling. But if you cold call with the Jim's brand, it's a different story. So I sent a message to a school and said, hey, these are all the services I offer. And it was to the principal of the school. And it just so happened that the principal was had just received complaints about the oval.
Right.
The day of me emailing him.
Yeah.
Let's say he didn't receive that, and I had to email him a couple of times, and then I just catch him out on that day. So I got lucky this time, but we can cold call every week until we catch that time of, we'll call it vulnerability. He was vulnerable. He needed someone to come and do it. And he actually said to me he wouldn't have engaged with us. It was just that he knew what Jim's Mowing was.
Yeah.
And I've got the school oval on a package. So, and a package means fertilizing, pre-emergence.
Good job.
Yeah. Spraying all the weeds. And then not included in the package is like top dressing and coring and stuff like that. But that's going to be an ad hoc to it. But their maintenance man mows it. And now I just look after the professional side of it, I guess, in that I've got a ChemCert certificate, etc. I think his maintenance man doesn't have that, and we're working around children. So I'm going in on weekends, and when I started telling him, like, we need our dew point, our wind needs to be in the right direction within the right specs. We've got to be off the lawn for a certain amount of time. He went, really? I went, yeah, this is a kid's oval, mate. So I'll come in on Saturdays and I'll apply whatever it is that I need to apply. We'll fill out the record forms. We need to keep that for 3 years. And I said, I'll send that to you and you can just file that away so that we know. And it was not only was the gym's brand professional, but the way that I approached it was very professional. And it's a handsome price that I got it for too, because of that.
No, but look, and that's the thing. Franchisees coming in now is always the best time because you've got 40 years of people like yourself. That's just one example of literally millions of jobs that have been done by franchisees. And I can't, like the gym surveys, I reckon we've probably got more than 1 million or 5-star ratings of franchisees, and they're not obviously public, but we've got a hell of a lot of reviews. And that's the thing. You're coming in as a franchisee now, just that's one example of what our franchisees do. And it's great to hear that, Mitch, because it's a good level of professionalism. And I think if someone's looking at us compared to other brands, really the brand does mean something. It's not like a wishy-washy marketing term. It stands for something, and it can absolutely help you accelerate your business. And I think if you do all the stuff you've been saying throughout the interview, you have the brand on the shit, you're going to be more than successful. But Mitch, we've gone for more than an hour and a bit now. So is there anything you want to end with? So obviously if someone wants to inquire, they just can scan that QR code there, which they can go to the form, or they can call 131-546. But what else would you want to know as a final sign-off?
Don't wait. I've heard a lot of people saying that they wait on it or they haven't made that decision. So I could have been in business much earlier, much earlier than what I was. And I and ahed for a long, long time. And this seems to be a common, from the people I've spoken to in the week that I've been sitting in the seat, it's a common thing that, I don't know how to do bookkeeping. I don't know how to set up a business. Does gyms just pay me? Is a common one. But they don't know the bookkeeping. They don't know how to set up a business. They know that they're a good worker. They know that they have customer service. They know that they've got the drive to do it, but they don't know how. And it's very, very simple.
A lot of people are capable, and you're right. I don't mean to cut you off there, but I've done heaps of these interviews, and you're right. Everyone I interview has it in them. They've had it in them for a very long, long time, and they just don't have the confidence, or maybe they just don't believe in themselves enough to do it. And then once the privilege I get to do is I can interview someone like you from 2 years ago, the space of 2 years to being now a franchisor for a highly successful business. You always have it in you. It's just a matter of taking the courage. The hardest thing is getting to training, doing that first step and booking the training. And once you do that, I think it's pretty much down.
I don't even think booking in the training's the hardest step. The hardest step is to inquire. Well, guys that I spoke to, I've said, you really have made that, you've done the hardest step, okay? You've inquired and spoken to us. Everything from this point on, we're managing as a team. We'll manage the whole process as a team from this point on, okay? You're not alone anymore. The moment that you make that call, you're not alone. We can get you into business. And I think if we really, really tried, it could be a 4-week turnaround if we really tried. But expectations, yeah, probably 4 to 8 weeks, and you've got yourself not a franchise, you've got yourself a business.
That's a great point.
So, yeah, look, don't wait. Like, what's it cost you? What's it cost you to call me?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Just exactly right.
Yeah, cool. And had a chat. I love chatting. Like I just said, I spoke to Joseph for a long time on the phone, but I'm excited about that. I get a bit giddy. Like, it's a bit hard to bring it across in an interview like this. I'm very intense. I love the industry. I love everything business ownership, the camaraderie that we have. I love it. And I always draw on the experiences that I'm having with other franchisees. And I've mentioned a lot of people's names here as well. I hope they're comfortable me talking about them and name dropping them. I hope they listen to this and get a bit of excitement out of it. I like to draw on all those experiences and pull it all together, give all this information to a Joseph so that he can make, the best decision for him and the most informed decision. It's so fun. It's so fun to talk to all these business owners. Like, it's just exciting. It's really, really exciting. One more thing.
One more. Go for it.
I just want to publicly thank Dan Cahill and Mel as well. Great mentor. So he was my franchisor. Absolutely great mentor. Helped me like the whole way through. Just a great guy. I was on the phone to him today, talking to him for an hour or so. Once you got these contacts, we don't just stop talking to you. You get mentored right the way through. The best way that I can describe it, or the best way that I can thank Dan and Mel, was professionally, like outside of my wife and family, this has been the best relationship that I've had with someone. Absolutely the best. The value that I've gotten from the relationship with my franchisor, and other people may not have the same one with their franchise or whatever it is, but to me, it's incredible. Like I had a business, now I've got this business, and it's been, really, really good journey.
Oh, it's nice that he just
I just want to thank him, so everyone gets to hear it. So
yeah, that's so good. I'm sure you hear it, and that's really nice of you to say. And he's obviously one of the stars of the division, and done a lot of content for us as well, and people get inspired by his story at training. So thanks for saying that. I'm sure Dan, watched that, and Mel as well. So appreciate their support to you, because it's great to hear from our perspective at head office as well. So if you are thinking about it, guys, as Mitch said, don't wait. Literally, jimsmowing.com.au. There's a QR code there, 131546, and it goes for any franchisor. And Mitch, it's great to be able to share how passionate you are as a franchisor, because I think franchisors, franchising in general can get a little bit of a bad rap sometimes when you read some of the horror stories online and you meet someone like yourself and you go, Jesus, it's not like that at all. It's the complete opposite. And I just hope people take a punt and inquire and see if it's for you or not. And then if it's not, great. But if it is, fantastic. And you have a great franchisor, and Mitch, or one of our other great franchisors in the group. So I appreciate your time today.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Joel. I appreciate all your content that you put out, mate.
Thank you for listening to the episode of the More Than Just Mowing podcast by Jim's Mowing. If you do need help with your local gardening expert, please give us a call at 131546 for Australia, 0800 454 654 for New Zealand, or head to jimsmowing.com.au or jimsmowing.co.nz. If you liked what you heard, please make sure you leave us a review as well, wherever you consume your podcast. We appreciate your support. And until next episode, we hope you have a great week.